To have a successful team, you need minimum level of skill and also game knowledge. The best teams in the LCS have this minimum level. After you cover this, then to be successful, you need to be able to fix all the personal issues and mesh the personalities so they work together. When you hit this minimum level of League of Legends, the other side of the persons, of the players, is gonna continue rising this. Because once the players are individually strong enough and they understand the game deep enough, if they're able to coordinate, it's like if you add up the 5 players, the total, it's not 5, it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if makes sense. So the better they mesh together, the better they understand each other, the better they're going to perform as a team.
Can't be jumping out my seat for everybody's mind and needs. No, that don't make me selfish, baby, that don't make me mean. I got my own life, I got my own life. I can't be worried about no spacecraft, no artificial being. No, that don't make me nervous, baby, that don't mean a thing. I got my own life, I got my own life. And you should get a life of your own now. My own life.
When was the first time I met? I think it might have been the time I visited the house, sometime during April in 2013, I think. Where I stayed for a week and I followed them to the LCS and just hung out in the house. Bora was the kind of guy that had similar thoughts like me in terms of how you should work. He would always kind of be the guy to wake up first and go to bed last. It was hard to perhaps get a personal relationship from day one because you didn't have, how would you say, the time or the reason to do so.
Come on, bro. I mean, you don't have to say everything in front of me like this. Yeah, I mean, like, I remember when you were in the house, I felt like it was natural for you to come, but I was feeling uncomfortable because I actually took your spot and then you're coming in the house like, oh, hey guys, and I was like, maybe I wish that you could still play for the team because you actually deserve the spot. And yeah, I mean, it was really natural to have you around and it was really cool.
Yeah, it was actually one of the most fun times, I think, living in the house at that time, because I didn't have like the constant pressure of the LCS. And I didn't even understand the constant pressure of the LCS at the time, so I just thought it was like living in a dorm with people in my own age with similar interests. Meanwhile, these guys probably were thinking, what is this guy even doing here? I think pretty much from the moment we started playing together, we always did a pretty good job, regardless of who we were playing against.
I think there was a lot of pressure for Martin and me, both, because when he was playing with Fnatic at first, it was in season 2, he had a really successful career, let's say, already, and then he had to step down. I would never imagine that I would actually take his role, and I was feeling bad because he actually performed really well on stage. He had to wait a whole year, and then I would never imagine once again that I would actually be playing with him, but as a support, so we would be playing together. And since we were performing as well with Pudu at that time, he had like double of the pressure because he used to do well, and then he comes in when we were doing well as well, so people were expecting a lot from us, so we basically had to like be really good at the very beginning.
The bot lane for me is something I didn't necessarily think of as a team in the team. Up until the point I realized how important and successful my relationship with Bora was. And I don't think that was up until the point where I joined Elements and I didn't have that much success as I did in the past. And I came to realize that it was really good for me. And I wanted to go back to that as soon as possible. And I guess at that point I realized that there was so much more to it than just an AD carry and a support.
We have a lot of tempo on what side we're gonna use this Deilor. I think it's really important to have like that synergy where you can actually understand each other, not only inside of the game, but which is the most important part, but having this feeling where you can like basically know how he's going to react and how he's going to play is really helpful. It's the same feeling when I was playing with someone else, then I didn't have that spark, whereas with Martin I do have it, so it's really nice to be together.
I don't think that it's needed that the bot lane it's a mini team inside the team, but I think in our case it happens and it's very good because both of them understand each other very well and they're constantly talking and communicating around what they want to do. So they have this relationship that they have the same kind of goals and the same kind of work ethic. So for us in particular, it's very good to have two guys like this because they bring good stuff that the rest of the team can mimic. And it makes easier my work because I don't need to tell them to do this. They just do it by themselves. So it's very good for us. If you pick the best player of every position or one of the top players of every position and you put the 5 guys together, it's kind of true that this team should work. But then you need the proper coaching stuff that make these guys understand that they need to play as a team. Someone has to sacrifice for the other, someone has to fill the gaps that other players don't have because not every player has the same skill set and every area is polished. They are very good at communication and they understand the macro game, they know all the matchups, they're able to learn very fast, be ahead of the meta game. Not every player has everything. It's like instead of thinking of like the players will just instantly mesh and be a unit, it's more like players have like their little different shapes and they have to fit until the puzzle is finished.
I would say Gamsu can kind of be summed up in one word, and I would say that's shy. But I think he's grown over the last couple of months and he's kind of opened himself up more to the people around him.
Gamsu is really reserved, but you can like get a lot of information if you actually get some interest, like asking questions, but it's not someone that is going to open up. You have to ask him like individually, so he gets to trust you and then he will like come to you.
Gamsu is quite quiet. Spirit is the opposite. He is like much more cheerful and talking all this.
Holy shit, this game is doomed. No! Deilor?
Huh? What the fuck? I'm losing the game! I wanna see my face. What the fuck? Hey. Nice face. Holy shit. Hello. Wow. How to remove this? I remove. Don't worry. Oh, nice. What do you think? Like this? You wanna see?
Yeah.
I can do this. I need to spray. Oh! You look like a Dragon Ball.
Spirit is probably our most emotional guy in the team. He has his very happy moments and happy days, and then he has his more sad / quiet days.
You know, I used to watch the Life of Legends. He looked like Huni from the last split a bit. He really like enjoys the camera. He wants to be the funny guy, and he's actually funny and he brings a good mood. But at the same time, sometimes he has his days off. But we're like here to cheer him up, so that's fine.
Fabian's kind of trollish.
For Fabian, I would say Fabian is probably the funny one, which is probably something everyone's seen in Life of Legends as well. He's kind of 70–80% of Life of Legends these days, swimming in the pool or screaming "I'm wet" to Bora. It's just, yeah, he's a living meme machine.
It's fucking lost.
He just wants everyone to be happy, so it's way easier. But at the same time, if we're trolling all the time like he is, then there will be no limits. We need some people to look after us or after him as well, so he doesn't do too much, you know. But it's always funny to be with him.
Martin is more kind of grown up in the sense that he His work ethic is really good. Let's say that he goes to solo queue, he has to practice. He's not gonna be trolling around, or even though he of course wants to have fun, he has fun inside the things that he knows he has to do, if it makes sense. He's very disciplined. With Bora is the same. Martin and Bora have similar personalities in this sense.
And for Bora, I would say is probably the staple of the whole thing. And I think something that we really missed during the last split. I was kind of trying to take the place, I guess, as a staple and the guy you could come to if you needed something in a very dire moment. But I don't think I was able to live up to it fully. And I know that's something that Bora can do, as he showcased in his past years. So I think he's probably the guy that keeps it all together, and I think that's really important. So I appreciate you as well.
Here we can see that we have like two guys that are kind of similar in how much they are going to be working and actually hard working. Spirit and Faven make the atmosphere more fun, and then Gamsu is more quiet, more reserved. So it's kind of, we have a good mesh of personalities.
Guys, let's go! What the fuck? Shuttle's here! Fuck the shuttle! Let's go! It's a nice game. Shuttle, as usual.
The weather now is closing in. I'm heading for a storm where the waves will lash the scudding clouds and legends will be born. Whispering will brush my flying cloak and dance between the trees, where the very force of nature brings this island to its knees.
I think in general the communication is very important. So grouping and talking about strategy, or talking or grouping before the game and having like one minute talk just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that everyone's ready for the match, that they are focusing. I think all this stuff is important.
This week we've been doing a good job during scrims. We've practiced a lot of stuff, and something that I particularly liked is that we've played a lot to our comp, to what we wanted to do. So this is what I want to see today. So I want to play aggressive like we've been doing, and I want a lot of communication, coordination, and play to the strengths of our composition, play to the spikes. Okay? So we play a coordinated game, we play around the map, and this is how we win. Come on, strong.
1, 2, 3, Fnatic!
Let's go, boys!
Of course, if you skip it, it's not like you're gonna win the game because of this. But all these little things, they add up. And in the case of going to the LCS and having this team talk on all this, it's kind of a ritual in the sense that you always repeat the same way, and it will help the players focus, and they already know that this is happening, and they know that when this happens, this means that we're going into a stage, and this means that they are going to compete. I think it helps the players perform.
1, 2, 3, Fnatic!
What's in Dutch?
No, that's not Dutch, that's German.
Yeah, but what is it in Dutch?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
1.
Game is 1, no?
Yes. 2.
Train is 3.
2.
How is 2?
2.
Nice language.
1, 2, 3.
3.
3 like a tree?
3.
Like Maokai?
3. No, 3. Like with a 3.
Hashtag FNC win or hashtag S04 win for who you think will be taking this game. First game in this best of 2 and the very first game here in the studio in week 3.
Gillis is going in, but the team's on the other side.
He's completely separated. He's very tanky, but now the team will go in, immediately get hit by the traps. Gillis is just dead. And Gamsu is just blocking Fox if he even wants to try and get out of there. Gamsu still even had his ultimate. 3 members will survive from Fnatic and they wipe out Schalke. And that's just going to be it for this first game right here. The rest of Fnatic are very easily just going to walk and waltz into this mid lane and take down the Nexus. Very, very much a convincing win for Fnatic in this first game against Schalke. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, use the hashtags, hashtag S04 win or FNC win as we head onto the rift for game 2. Fox comes in, looks for the assassination pick. Ultimate onto a couple members, not quite going to be enough. And Steve also gets caught out trying to collect the lantern, but there's just too many people dogpiling on top of him. And 3-0 and the Baron. Fnatic are coming in for the kill.
And this tower is going to die.
Yeah, it's going to go down, and we will actually have an end to this game to Fisher as Fnatic will pick up the tower and the Nexus itself, taking the 2-0 on the week against Schalke.
We had the game in our hands, and then after the pause, I think everyone lost their focus, and then it started to be really messy. I tried to tell them like to calm down and everything. We know that we can win the game if everyone focuses, but once we do one mistake, then we have to wait. We are losing like a lot of tempo, then we have to wait again because everyone is getting caught. So they can basically start playing, and then we have to play on the back foot, which is way harder. And yeah, we just have to hold together, which we did.
The reason why teamwork has become more important over the years isn't only because of the scene growing, but it's also because of Riot changing the game into that direction. I think when I started playing, like working together inside the game wasn't something you needed to do to win the game. If that was because people weren't good enough to execute a proper team comp or team strategy, I'm not quite sure, but I think in general the game has kind of pathed in a way where it's much more important to work together inside the game.
New upcomers, when they usually think about a team, they want like the best players at every position, but you don't necessarily need those 5 guys because there might be like troubles working together. So I'd say you need to find a balance with good players and then that are willing to work together and like make compromises and stuff.
For starters, when I started playing professionally, like working together wasn't even something you thought of. You just kind of went into the games, tried to have a lot of fun and do your thing. So I don't think it was up until season 5 where I realized it's so much more to it than just playing good on an individual level. It's how you are and how you interact with the people around you, how you treat your teammates, not only as friends but also as co-workers, and respecting each other's. I think SKT is probably one of the strongest teams on how they work together. Whenever you watch them play or play against them, they kind of never open themselves up as a team to vulnerability, I guess, from the other team. When we were playing against pretty much any other team at IEM, we were always able to find these moments of weakness where we would just try to do our thing, get a tower or 2, get a dragon or even a teamfight opened. But when we played against SKT, it was really hard to find these moments, and we didn't even do it over the course of 3 games. And pretty much every fight we had or every situation we had in the game, it was them saying yes to it. And I think that's one thing they're probably the best at in the world.
A team that stays at the top all the time, even though the game is shifting, means that they're really good at adapting as a team, and they have a clear understanding on how to win games. So every time they're like picking champions or going into a game, they should talk about like the winning conditions, and they just go through it. I don't know how the practice goes, but I know for a fact that we practice a lot against them. At words, they were like not unbeatable in scrims, but they were trying a lot of stuff. And on stage, it was a completely different team. And yeah, they're like going for the safe mode where they reach a point where they know they can win, and then they just go all in and then they close out the game really fast. I'm impressed by how they work in competitive games and in real games.
They had a successful team, and then they start growing another team inside their own organization. And when the first SKT version disbanded, then they picked up the players of this second team that they have been already taught inside the organization. So they were already ready to compete, and they already understood how everything worked in SKT and so on. So it was so much easier to get these new players and put them in the new team. And then of course they need a couple of months to adapt, but they've already been working together for a year or something like this. So the combination of having very good players, a structure to let new players grow and learn and be able to go on stage, perform, go back, practice, and so on, repeat this cycle. And then you put them in the main team, and you put them with Faker, and you have Koma and so on. Then it's like they have the formula to succeed. It makes sense.
Okay, come on, strong.
1, 2, 3.
Fnatic! Pauses are done. Game is ready, ladies and gentlemen. Splice versus Fnatic, game 1. Team's gearing up and heading out the base. Bevavin suddenly in trouble, trading on the back with a 1v1. Double kill for Rekkles. Wonder, is he going to be able to get anything? GA is available. 5 members ready to play cleanup here. Wonder respawns. Wonder goes down. The ace for Fnatic. 39 minutes set to close out here. Some fancy footwork from the team and some amazing play from Fnatic as a whole, earning themselves the first game in this best of two. Something we will see as we get ready for game two. Fnatic and Splice running out of the base, ready for this second match. Wonder doing what he can, but one is going to drop Gamsu now in the Mega Gnar. Maybe looking for something else. Wonder burning down Febevin as well, but they simply will not die on the side of Fnatic. Kabi can't even get in to deal the damage, but he's gonna be able to get one, or is he? Gamsu making it to safety. Rekkles going massive. Febevin cleaning house. And that's gonna be the ace for Fnatic. One team fight blows the game wide open, and Fnatic close with confidence.
We were able to go 18-0 because we had all the sprint split to work on. We had really good individuals, and from the beginning we had a clear style. So it's like we had a very good balance from the beginning. It didn't happen this split. Now we start summer and Bora is back, and now we have what we need. But to be able to replicate the 18-0 squad, that spring split that we don't have. So of course we're not going to be able to perform at that level because we don't have it, we haven't had enough time to mesh.
What do you think is different from last year to this year?
I think the spring split was really different without you. I think we had to kind of rebuild the whole team structure that we were having in the previous lineup that was working so well. But now with you coming back, I don't really think that this team is much different from the one we had last year. Perhaps individuals have like different traits, but I would say all in all the core of the lineup is kind of similar. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can reach the same heights. But I also think it's harder to plug and play a support like yourself from spring split to the summer split than it was plugging and playing me between the spring and summer last year. And I think it's going to be tougher to reach the same heights because you guys played together for a really long period last year, and that made you be really, really good already when I came back, right? Meanwhile, now when you came back, we kind of had to start all over again in some sense. So I think it's going to be tough to reach the same before Worlds comes around, but I still think it's a possibility.
Make it work. Yeah, people have high expectations because of last year, so they're comparing. And I see why they're comparing, because we have a similar setup where we have two Koreans and the same three. I think we have to make it work because we have the tools to be able to do it.
If the fans expect us to go something similar to 18-0, I think it's a bit delusional because it's like, as I explained, we don't have enough time for it. But even though if we're not able to perform at that level in summer, our goal is to win summer and go Worlds and be as good as we can. And I think that we have enough time for that. So of course it's gonna be the road is gonna be more bumpy, but we should be fine if we continue working hard and working properly. So should be no problem.
Yeah, we just have to keep everything and then show that we are the core of Fnatic.
I can't be jumping out my seat for everybody's mind and needs. No, that don't make me selfish, baby. That don't make me mean. I got my own.
Wait. After this trolling moment, we go back to the
Neymar. Where is pineapple?
this one. I like
Holy
this one.
shit. How do you call this?
Salamandra.